Hello, everyone. It's July 2nd, Wednesday again, and time for an edition this week of Wednesday with Walton and Reis. And here is my partner, Kyle Reis, back after a couple weeks away. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure to be back. I did a lot of traveling, a lot of driving over the last couple of weeks, and it was really nice to listen to you and Kareem talk about the system and also talk about the draft, some of the draft prospects last. That made part of my drive to Illinois go by incredibly fast. You guys did great.
And one of the things that we're going to do, Kyle, you probably, if you listened, then you heard it. I decided real time that we're going to have a three-way edition right after the draft. So look for that around the 16th day or so after the draft concludes with Kyle and I and Kareem Hawk. And I'll probably just sit back and watch the two of them share lots of wisdom about guys the Cardinals took and maybe regrets about guys that didn't take. Who knows? I should,
Probably.
yeah, I should say, by the way, that this is available every week at thecardinalnation.com in video form and in audio form at the Scoops Sports Network and all your favorite podcast apps. All right, so we got that out of the way. There's some news we want to talk about. We're going to talk about some player transactions that have occurred. We're going to talk about the futures game, which is coming up over All Stars weekend. We're going to talk about Florida State League Player of the Week, the Player of the Month that we named at the Cardinal Nation, and also some candidates for Pitcher of the Month in July. And I've got some guys that I'm looking at that are, well, not traditional. And anytime you consider a reliever for a Player of the Month award, that's unusual because normally there's some starters that are doing pretty well. But we'll get to that, and there'll be time for other things as well, I'm sure, in our edition this week. So, we kind of thought, Kyle and I, in our previous discussions, that based on what the previous organization did, the previous regime, that around the mid-season point there were going to be this massive transactions that occurred. It really didn't happen. There was some dribbling of moves here and there, but on Tuesday this week, the Cardinals made 12 transactions, and again, not name guys, but basically moving players around. A lot of relievers, some people coming in on and off the injured list. But one move that was announced was one that I thought was really long overdue, and that is reliever Jack Ralston, for the first time, finally has received a chance to go to AAA Memphis. And just to put it in perspective, Ralston may be, I haven't looked, but he may be the last guy in the system to have played at State College prior to COVID, prior to the contraction of the minor leagues. And Jack Ralston, right-hand reliever, reached Springfield for the first time early in the 2023 to basically open the 2023 season. So he's been at AA almost all of the last 2.5 years. And this year, Ralston has pitched exceptionally well for the first half champion Springfield Cardinals. 41 strikeouts in 31 and a third innings, an ERA under 2. And even saved 3 games when asked. So it's just good to see. And Jack Ralston's 27. He's probably going to become a minor league free agent before he ever gets added to the 40-man roster. But guys like Jack Ralston are the guys that you need to have to keep the organization together so that guys like Wetherholt can thrive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the articles written in the Post Dispatch by Derek Gould over the last week has been about he interviewed Rob Serfolio for a little bit, and Serfolio just said there is an emphasis on winning at the minor league level now. Not to say that there wasn't, because that was a big thing, but maybe regaining some of that winning culture as opposed to the promotion culture. And I think guys like Jack Ralston, who have experience, who have been around forever, who have toyed and worked and dealt with injury, and who were drafted 6 years ago, right, in 2019, a 7th round pick in 2019, like
Yeah,
who have been around and battled and are having success, are the kind of guys that lay the foundation for the success that the major league club ends up needing and having, the prospects that make it to the major league club end up needing and having. Ralston's a really interesting pitcher too. He's incredible to watch because he throws basically completely over the top in a windmill tradition. It's a hell of an arm path. His body kind of explodes as he releases the ball. It's a really unique way of throwing. And it seems like the big adjustment for him this year that's led to success is just, you know what, kind of try to throw the ball over the middle. He's not like Chris Roycroft in any way, but he's kind of that like, hey, Chris, you've got good stuff. Hey, Jack, you guys have good stuff. Just try to see what you do when you can throw it over the middle of the plate. And that's part of why Ralston's having success. And he's got some nasty breaking and off speed stuff. So hopefully this is a chance for him to prove himself at Memphis and maybe make a major league debut. That would be a really cool thing, and that I think a lot of people in the organization would like to see.
So another transaction, not as positive, a guy that we've talked about as a top 25, maybe even a top 20 prospect, right-handed pitcher Zach Showalter, who of course came over in the trades almost 2 years ago now, but has not been able to stay healthy. Finally earned the promotion to Peoria, but has spent a lot of the time there ineffectively. In the first month of the year, Showalter walked 9 in his first 7 2/3 innings. Not good. Got put on the development list, which is a way for guys to kind of work on the side, try to fix whatever is ailing them mechanically or between the years or whatever it is. And he missed all of May and was activated back in Peoria in June. But the problem got worse. He walked 9 again, but it's in his last 5 innings. So total 18 walks and 14 2/3 innings this year. And this time the Cardinals made the decision to send Showalter back to the Florida Complex League, something that they also did with Edwin Nunez down from Springfield not that long ago. Have you seen Showalter pitch lately, and can you identify what's up with him?
Brian, I am ashamed to say that I have not. I've been too busy. I've been meaning to go back and look specifically at that, especially after the news today that he was being sent down. If we go back to the beginning of the year, it very much was a command thing, especially with his off-speed offerings, and a lot of it with that sneaky fastball from that particular angle, not necessarily fooling bats. On the outside of the strike zone. So again, I don't know how it was when he was recalled and it was continuing to walk people. I can't wait to go back and check. But I would imagine that if the past is any indication, that that's exactly what happened.
Well, so we hope for the best for Zach Showalter, that he solves his control issues down in the Florida Complex League on those hot backfields and noon
Yeah.
games. Not a fun place to be. Um, Another announcement that was made this week on Monday was the rosters for the Futures game was announced. And it used to be in the past, it was U.S. players versus international players. The last few years, they've changed it to AL versus NL. And the Futures game will be played on the 12th of July. So it's, before the All-Star game, just before the All-Star game in Atlanta. It'll be nationally televised. It's a late afternoon game. And these guys will have to leave their minor league team because the minor league teams, of course, will be playing through that Sunday before everybody takes a break. Interestingly enough, the St. Louis Cardinals only have one representative. Now, if we were to select one guy that we think should be on the National League roster for the Futures game, we would have picked J.J. Wetherholt. And certainly that's well deserved. But the Cardinals didn't have any pitchers selected, which is a little bit of a surprise, kind of a big surprise. And another guy that I thought, deserved consideration, and maybe they had enough catchers already, but Leonardo Bernal, Wetherholt's teammate at Springfield, has also had a tremendous season.
Yeah, it's not like the catchers. Okay, so I view Leonardo Bernal as a snub. I think that in some ways you can maybe make the argument that Bernal would be my choice over Wetherholt. Again, no disrespect towards JJ Wetherholt, and he does carry the prospect cachet that comes with the kind of prospect you want in the futures game. Like there's the hype there. They want the hype for that game because it's usually the Sunday before the All-Star break, and right? It's the Sunday before the All-Star break. Am I wrong about that? Is that when the 12th is? Brian, when is the 12th?
Saturday. It's a Saturday.
All right, cool. That's like I said, Saturday before. So they want that hype. So I get it. I look at the three catchers that are going to be on the National League team, and they're the second representative. Every one of those catchers are a second representative for the team, and I personally don't think that they're as interesting or maybe even as high potential or eye-opening as Leo Bernal. And so for me, that Bernal is the big snub. I would have liked to have seen maybe a couple other people get consideration, and more than likely Quinn Matthews would have been on the roster. I'm surprised Tekoa Roby didn't get a sniff, but they probably want to give Roby a little bit of rest because of his past injury history and also not having a lot of minor league innings. They probably want to be a little bit more cautious with him. But yeah, for me, it's Leonardo Bernal. I think he deserves the accolades. He deserves a little extra recognition for the season he's having.
I can't remember which one it was, whether it was Baseball America or MLB Pipeline, or one of those guys slipped Bernal into the back end of their top 100 recently.
I think, it's funny, Brian. I think I just saw it. I think it was MLB. And I think they had him at 88, and they had Ray Rodriguez at 99 or
Yeah,
89 and 99.
yeah. And Rodriguez is an interesting guy. I mean, I'm going off script if you want to think we have a script. Uh,
Yeah,
but Rodriguez is a guy that, of course, was Player of the Month last month in May. Excuse me, 2 months ago in May, and then earned that big promotion up to Palm Beach, and started off slowly with Palm Beach. But the reality is, in his first month, even though for the whole month Rodriguez hit under 200 and his OPS was 649, he still had 8 doubles at his new level. And I looked at his results in the last week, the last series, the last 6 games that he played for Palm Beach, and he has 6 hits and 8 walks for a 500 OBP against just 2 strikeouts. So if that short sample of a week's worth of games is any indication, Rodriguez is now figuring out low A, and that's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's I like the fact that they've taken it slow with him. It gives us a chance to kind of take it slow with him, even as the hype starts to build. I think, I heard Rob Serfolio say something over the last couple of weeks on one of the interviews that he's done, where he talked about how important it is, and we'll see it with other prospects, but like how important it is for like a Quinn Matthews to fail, and how he's even Quinn Matthews is on board with failing because of what he's learning about himself in pitching. And I think back to like Jordan Walker, who never failed ever. He never struggled, never failed. And he gets to the major leagues and now he's failing. Same thing with Dylan Carlson was a little bit different, but like Dylan Carlson, when he got to the AA, no failure at all. Got up to AAA for a quarter season, no failure at all. I think it's good that these guys are, Rainiel Rodriguez gets a chance to work through some struggle as an 18-year-old at a full season affiliate. I like it, and I like to see him learning.
Yep, agreed. Some other news out of Palm Beach. Deniel Ortiz, who was drafted as a third baseman in the 16th round last year, but playing more first base this year, was named the Florida State League Player of the Week. And he had an OPS last week of 1330, 7 hits, 5 walks, including 3 doubles and a home run, scored 7 runs. And his hits, runs scored, and OPS led the Florida State League last week. And the guy's just 20 years old. He wasn't a guy that was on my prospect list to start the year, but he's moved up now. He's number 32. And if Deniel Ortiz keeps playing like he has, he'll continue to advance on my list. What's your view of Ortiz?
Brian, I think when I did my re-ranking, whenever that was, it might have been 100 years ago. It might have been 3 weeks ago. I really don't know. Whenever that was, I think I had him at like 20, and
Huh?
that's aggressive. I usually am not that aggressive with kids at the lowest level, but watching him evolve throughout the year. Now he hit into a lot of bad luck at the beginning of the year, but that kid is a hitter, and he's just having more success, more luck success than anything else. He's been trending this way from the beginning of the year. I'm like you. I would say that he was off my radar entering the year. I just wanted to see him. Like, we hadn't seen him. He was drafted, was the only position player that didn't make a debut in his draft year in 2024. And I just wanted to see him. I think Kareem nailed it. There's questions about his defense. It is trending in the right direction, but he's so big and he's so solid, and he's a solid built kid. He also that it's so easy to see him handle himself at the plate. And being a JUCO kid, being or a Division III kid or whatever he was, he's taking to teaching really, really well at an advanced level. And that is what I think I am most impressed with. Results aside, I mean, I do love the power. I love the power. I love his ability to drive the ball. I love all that. But I think what we're seeing is that in a short period of time, he's taking to some really important teaching and applied it and gotten some really great results.
So, a place that Ortiz appeared very prominently is one of the things that I do at the end of the month / beginning of the month is take a look at the stats of the players across the system in the course of the month. And I, through a process that I've followed for a number of years, select a player of the month and a pitcher of the month across the system. Sometimes the Cardinals agree, sometimes the Cardinals don't. The Cardinals can tend to be more focused on hyping top prospects. And my take is, I don't care who the guy is, how did he do at his assigned level last month. The hitters are announced, and you can read these articles for free at the Cardinal Nation. I always make them free, the players and pitchers of the month. And this month of June, um, Nathan Church, had a tremendous month. And what's most notable about it, perhaps, is that this was Nathan Church's first month at AAA. He was the player of the month in the Texas League in May, and he slugged over 600, and he did it again at his new level in Memphis in June. And Nathan Church is a guy that I was worried was kind of going to be the next Scott Hurstish kind of guy. Great defender, but just couldn't hit enough. And Church has continued to improve, and he's starting now to hit both left-handers, which he always did, and right-handers, and to show power. And so even though J.J. Wetherholt had a tremendous month, Ortiz had a 10.05 OPS, 10 extra base hits, had a great month. I just couldn't pass up honoring Nathan Church.
Brian, I feel like much like with Ryan Ludis, I need to apologize to Nathan Church and his entire family, the extended family, second, third cousins, all of it, because I still am a doubter. I'm terrible. I did not think that he was even capable of this. Now, we have seen at the beginning of the 2024 season at Double A, when he made his Double A debut, he was lightning hot. I think he was the Double A player of the year or of April, Double A player hitter of the first month of the season in 2024.
Yep.
So I'm anxious to see how he adjusts. I don't understand how he's hitting for power. Even the first Grand Slam he hit was right around the 100-mile-an-hour mark. He's kind of doing the the Cesar Prieto power run right now.
And he had three triples last month. And granted, triples aren't something that you can plan for, but a guy that can hit the ball in the gaps and take that extra base, has a lot of value.
I was just about ready to say, but where he makes up with it is that he just has a lot of other tools. He's kind of a patient hitter. He doesn't strike out. He hits the ball to the gap. He hits the ball to the gap so much that outfielders run into each other, and he gets an inside the park home run out of it. Like, what more could you possibly ask for? And at the time, we talk about the Cardinals and what's going on in the outfield for the Cardinals, and a lot of question marks, and Michael Ciani not performing particularly well at AAA. Granted, there's a 40-man roster spot of it all, but yeah, you can't say that this 25-year-old kid isn't doing everything he can to try to make a major league debut in the 2025 season.
And let's face it, if Matt Koperniak doesn't, get his pedal to the metal, his roster spot could be in jeopardy at some point.
Yeah, that's a great call, Brian. Again, it's probably been about 2 weeks since I've watched minor league baseball, but I've been in the middle of a move, all that stuff, and living with my brother and stuff with my dad. So I haven't really watched much in 2 weeks. But the fact that things haven't turned around for that poor young man bums me out. But it's a business,
Yep. So in addition to Church, as I said, Wetherholt, 1021 OPS, so not far behind Church. And like Church, J.J. Wetherholt had more walks and strikeouts, 19-14. So tremendous discipline. Also stole 6 bags and 7 tries. So Wetherholt is continuing to play well. I've been asked this question. You may have been asked it too. At what point do you think the Cardinals will challenge Wetherholt? Do you think they'll move him up this year? The big discussion in the Post-Dispatch story that, according to Serfolio, was, we want him to play playoff baseball. Well, the only way he's going to play playoff baseball for Springfield is if he stays there all year, because Memphis, they just restarted the second half, but Memphis is in a 10-team division, and the odds of winning a 10-team division are pretty low. Now, and I'm not counting the Redbirds out, but it's a big challenge versus a 5-team division in the Texas League.
I really can't wait to find out what they do. I think in my mind, there's a real chance that he'll go to the Futures game and then get sent off to Memphis. I think that I could see that.
We've seen that before.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we've seen that before. Not, of course, not with this player development system. But I do think that if he makes it past the Futures game and the All-Star week, I do think that they might just keep him at Double A for that playoff run. I do think that there's a chance of that.
Yep. And we're gonna watch and see how aggressive the organization's been. Now you could certainly say Rodriguez moving up after a month in the Florida Complex League was aggressive, but then again, I think his talent bared that out, and I don't think there's any doubt about J.J. Wetherholt at this point either. And as we've discussed before, defensively he's also been diversifying, playing more second base as well, which is sort of preparing him to. For that utility type role, perhaps when he first joined St. Louis down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Another thing to keep an eye on as far as the promotion goes, and of course, if he gets promoted to AAA, they will make room for him on an everyday basis. But with Jordan Walker hurt and other players hurt, you have Thomas Ajacey at the major league level, Jose Fermin at the major league level, which does kind of open a spot, an infield spot, a utility spot for someone like JJ Wetherholt at AAA. So just another thing to keep in mind. We'll see what happens when Jordan Walker comes back and people get healthy.
Yeah, they've got to clear this middle infield logjam out at some point. And of course, Tommy Edman's not here anymore. Of course, he could have been that center fielder that they needed. But as it turns out, they still have a lot of guys in the middle infield, and they have to find out. And so JC's fortunately getting a chance to play a little more and show what he can do. But Weatherholt's going to be right behind him before too long. You can go to the Cardinal Nation and read a lot more about the player. There's 10 finalists. Basically started with guys who had an OPS of 900 or more, and then I looked at counting stats and rate stats and BABIP. The one thing about Weatherholt's BABIP last month, batting average on balls in play, was 421, and that's a number that is certainly concerning a little bit, but it doesn't take anything away from the job he's done. 500 on base percentage for the entire month.
That's amazing. I mean, just amazing. Yeah, he's finding the holes. But I love that. It's something worth keeping an eye on with
Yeah.
him.
Now, there's one other guy I want to mention, and you'll never probably hear us ever talk about him again. And I didn't even learn how to say his name. His name is Jefferson Portolatin, and he is in the Dominican Summer League. And the reason that I bring up Jefferson Portolin is that last month he drew 28 walks in 62 plate appearances. We're talking about a 45.2% walk rate. Now, the guy didn't hit any home runs, doesn't have a lot of power. Who knows what's going to happen? But I thought it was kind of cool to call that young man out. A guy that hit like Porto Latin, very similar in terms of slash line, was Joshua Baez. Baez led the organization in home runs with 6 and RBIs with 22, but he still batted 221 last month and struck out at 27.3%. So Baez continues to be sort of a feast or famine kind of guy.
Yeah, fascinating. Just fascinating. Your list is awesome. I cannot tell you, like, when I see it and I look at Christopher LeBron, Brian Torres getting a shout out, and then what I'm assuming is Jason Lucena,
Yeah,
Yason.
yeah, son.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you can't beat this list.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, you heard about him here first. But I mean, a year ago, we were talking about Rodriguez before anybody knew who he was. So, there's definitely some merit in digging deep like this.
I love it.
I'm working on the pitcher of the month. I have actually made my choice and written the article, but I'm probably going to wait and publish it on Thursday. But in looking at the pitcher of the month, I start off with the guys in the system with the lowest ERA. And during June, there were 8 guys who threw at least 10 innings who had an ERA under 2.5. In this case, I took 2.5. The guy on top, the 3 guys did not allow an earned run or an unearned run all month. Michael McGreevy's on top. And of course, folks remember, McGreevy got called up and down a couple of times during the month of June. So he only made 2 starts with Memphis. So the fact that, he didn't allow a run is good, and his peripherals were great. I feel a little nervous about giving a guy a pitcher of the month award for just appearing in 2 games. But a couple of Springfield relievers, and again, Springfield, won the first half, and their relief pitching is much better than it's historically been. And a couple of the reasons, Ricardo Velez and Austin Love both of them threw between 10 and 11 innings. Both did not allow a run. Love allowed 1 hit all month. 1 hit all month. And he faced 41 batters. An 0.29 batting average. And so his batting average on balls in play was like also 0.40, which is like, okay, that's never going to happen again. But a tremendous month for Austin Love. But he's a fly ball pitcher, extreme fly ball pitcher, like 2 fly balls for every ground out. What's your take on Love? Does he have a potential major league future down the road?
I love seeing him have success. I really do. He's one of the first prospects we talked about. I was like, have you seen Austin Love down there? Like, has anybody heard from or seen? So it's nice to see. His fastball doesn't really fool anybody, which is going to get him in trouble. But he does have a really good off-speed pitch that you can sort of dream on as he works through and refines and defines his fastball. If Now, Austin Love, would he have also been from 20? No, he would have been. Was he 2019 too? Was he their
No,
second?
no,
No.
no, no. I will stall, hum a tune or something while
Thank
I
you.
look it up here
So
real
yeah, so
quickly.
I do think that there's a breaking pitch there to dream on. I think he has some fastball issues. Um,
2021 third round pick.
third.
Third
All
round
right,
pick.
the McGreevy draft. I get it all mixed up. Now that I think about it, it would have been Tony Losi, right? Tony Losi would have been the second round pick in
Yes.
2019.
Yeah, and he was traded. He was traded to in the Arenado deal, I think.
That's right. Yeah. And yeah. So, anyways, I do think I root for that kid. I would love to see him. I would love to see Austin Love get a chance to continue to move up the ranks, refine his fastball, and strike some people out in the process.
So another guy, and I don't know if you've ever seen him pitch. I didn't know much about him. The Cardinals picked up this guy Ricardo Velez. He's 26 years old. He'd been with the Twins organization, got released off their AA roster. The Cardinals signed him, and he started with Peoria through 6 or 7 perfect innings, basically, and then got promoted to Springfield, and has a 1.53 ERA in long relief in Springfield. But over the month of June, did not allow any runs and had some very interesting peripherals as well.
Yeah, he reminds me of Michael Gomez in a way. He's not as funky as Michael Gomez. Michael Gomez being a minor leaguer in the Cardinals, pitching at AAA. I think he was a Rule 5 guy. He might have just been a minor league free agent. Now that I say it, I think he was a minor league free agent. And he just throws with a little bit of funk, and he throws a lot of strikes, and he has some good off speed stuff, and he's doing a really good job of filling some really important innings at that level.
Yep. Now, 2 other relievers that also had ERAs under 1, so exceptional month. And one especially got my attention because it's a guy that I'd say we probably have a little prospect fatigue about, and that's Gordon Graceffo. Moved to the bullpen this year. 0.63 ERA last month, 1 earned run in 14 and a third innings, 16 strikeouts in 14 and a third. So a 10.1 strikeout per 9. The walks are still high, 4.4 per 9 for Gordon Graceffo, but it looks like he may be rounding into form as a reliever, at least based on June results.
Let's hope so. They're going to need that arm going down the stretch. Both him and Fernandez. Hopefully, Fernandez can continue to make some good strides and make a major league debut. But look, I again, prospect fatigue aside, I root for Gordon. I think he's the kind of bulldog that you want at the back end of your bullpen. And if he's refining with that curveball and fastball and learning how to pitch to both lefties and righties most effectively, he's going to be an arm they're going to call on in September, regardless of what happens at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and we'll take a quick bow here. My player of the month, the Cardinal Nation's pitcher of the month, excuse me, in the month of May was Andre Granillo, who received his much deserved addition to the 40-man roster and call up to St. Louis. And Granillo is now on the I-55 shuttle along with Graceffo and others. But it was good to see Granillo get his chance and do well his first time up. He's another guy that we'll see again, especially as some of these other guys, reach their 5 allowable calls up, during the course of the year. They're going to need some new arms.
Oh yeah, that's it. Those are ticking away, Brian. You called it at the when we again at the start of the year, like when they were going through their call ups and call downs, and call ups and send downs. You're like, we got to keep an extra eye on this because they're already starting to blow through them, and we're seeing it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, the last guy I wanted to talk about, 0.90 ERA in the month of June. Mason Burns at Palm Beach, 14 strikeouts against 4 walks in 10 innings, 0.91 batting average against, 0.70 whip. So, but probably most exciting, the 12.6 strikeouts per 9 against a 3.6 walk rate. So a really nice performance, and Burns earned a promotion to Peoria among those moves announced on Tuesday.
I'm excited about seeing Burns at Peoria. It's reminiscent of like when they called when the Cardinals moved Joseph King from Palm Beach to Peoria last year. Like they both have big breaking pitches, a big slider, very unique kind of pitch for him that has gotten a lot of swing and miss. And he'll probably fill, I would imagine, Mason Burns will fill an immediate, important, impactful bullpen role for Peoria. They won't mess around with that.
Yeah, and unfortunately, or at least we hope that he doesn't follow King's progress in terms of injuries. And King's again, it looks like out for the year. I haven't heard what happened again, but very disappointing. Promising arm who again, is not going to be able to be out there on the mound and pitch.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I hate pitching injuries. We've had too many of them this year. The Cardinals fan base and the Cardinals should get a reprieve for the rest of the year from pitching injuries. Just my own 2 cents.
Exactly. Well, we've come to the end of our time for July 2nd here with Wednesday with Walton and Reis, and we will be back next week on the 9th. And then, as I said, on the 16th or thereabouts, we will have a special post-draft version with Kareem Hawk joining us as well. So, Kyle, it's great for you to be back, and a pleasure to always spend this half an hour or so with you every week.
Brian, the world is right again. I feel back at peace that we're doing this again.
Well, and I think our listeners definitely noticed your absence and wanted to know what type of assignment you were on. But the good news is you're back and ready to go.
Yeah, it wasn't a prison sentence like they assumed, I'm sure, but yeah, no, we're back one way or the other, whether it's bail or otherwise. I'm out.
All right. Well, thanks again, Kyle, and we'll see everyone next week.